Good evening, everybody. Rob here at WesternPacificWeather.com. Currently right around 1900 Japan Standard Time. That's about 10 Zulu. Watching several areas out here. Basically, the Bear Clinic Low running across Japan here, as well as 13 Whiskey just to the northwest of Saipan. Current winds out of that system right around 60, gusting up to 18 knots. Did see some flare-up convection and a little more organization earlier today. Winds were actually increased by JTWC up to about 70, gusting up to 80 knots. Has been downgraded back to tropical storm now, as we've seen some dry air advection and working into the system, weakening it a little bit. And also, as already stated, we're watching this Bear Clinic Low running over Japan right now. Shown on radar here. Precipitation throughout much of the country today. Lots of Honshu got precipitation, basically a good dosing of rain, especially on the western slopes here. Even on the eastern slopes, it didn't all rain out over the Alps. Had a few rumbles of lightning here in the Kanto Plain today as well, but overall that event is basically done for the chase. Did still have some light rain showers left over from the system, but most of it's already worked off the coast. Did see winds increased up to about 25 knots today. I know some people were worried that this had actually had something to do with the storm itself. It has nothing to do with the 13 Whiskey. This is just a totally different westerly storm. But the one note, though, is that this will interact with the storm over the next 48 hours, increasing winds, pressure gradient winds in the region throughout Japan, up to about gusting up to 35 knots. So just one thing to note by tomorrow into Saturday. Moving back to a satellite picture here, 13 Whiskey is going to move just to the west of IWO here. Current ops out of that area right around 20 up to 25 knots, so not too much winds right now, but looking up the max up right around tropical storm force winds about 30 up to 40 knots, as it just will CPA just to the west of the islands right in there. Good news, very low population in those islands, very few permanent residents overall in there, so that is the good news. Now we are starting to see the interaction between this tropical and this trough, as we've been talking about for the past several days. I know that everybody was a little bit worried about when this tropical is going to show up and start to turn this storm to the northeast. Well, very clear on the satellite picture today. It is here associated with this low pressure right in here, and already starting to see some interaction with these cumulonimbus tops here forming up in the midst of these due to convergence at the surface, creating upward vertical motion between these two systems right in here. And that upward vertical motion is even indicated more so on this vorticity chart here, showing that a little bit more positive vorticity right in this area, and also associated with that stationary front. So one thing also to note, scrolling up here, I do want to show you the shear chart real fast. System is basically thread the needle on the western eastern periphery of two high areas of shear associated with high pressure, basically up to about 50 knots max. So you're going to start to see on the eastern and western periphery a lot more shear aloft with this system as it starts to move to the north. And here also showing the streamline analysis, showing the storm just moving along the western periphery of the Westpac High here, or the subtropical ridge extending out of it. Now this is starting to weaken as this trough up here over Japan starts to deepen, associated with that low pressure at the surface. Is going to end up picking this up and moving off to the northeast. But clear indication of this system starting to move to the northeast. Basically going to follow these streamlines right in here. And that trough is even further illustrated on this 500 millibar analysis from KMA right in here, showing the trough right over Japan here, moving off towards the east. So overall with the system, though, not looking like it's going to affect too much land outside of the IWO Islands right in here. It is going to end up recurving to the northeast. Going to see some high surf along the eastern side of Honshu right in here, and see some winds interact with this stationary front in here, increasing the gradient, max gust up about 35 knots throughout most of the areas right in here. So good news overall. Going to have to watch the system, though, as it moves off to the northeast. It's going to start to interact with the Aleutian High, so possibly some event up there in the northwest Pacific and along the British Columbia coast over the next week or so. But overall, though, that's all for today, everybody. And if you have any questions, though, you can contact me here at WesternPacificWeather.com. Also, can find me at storm2k.org. Been on that site a lot recently. A lot of good people on there, a good analysis. So overall, that's all for today. And thank you for tuning in to WesternPacificWeather.com. Stay safe out there.